Hello everybody, this is Theodore with Lies of the Devil, exposing lies of the devil. This video is going to be a deep insight into Kent's psychological manner, how he conducts himself. Joe Hoven admits that Kent has always been this monster, this psychopath, and then we're going to show that he has these grandiose ideas of this being a general type of person, and that's why he believes that he can trample on people and try to get them to become servants, destitute, and relying on him. And that he was trying to create a whole army of tax protesters under the guise of this creation science evangelism gig. While he's raking in the cash, he's trying to create anti-tax protesters so that they could wage war against the government. What we're going to go through, it's all evidence. It's not just me saying this. It's his own words, and it's a plethora of people. Okay? Now, let's go through this email here. This is from a family friend who that he's known the family for a very long time. Okay? And when he was a child growing up with Eric, like a teenager or something like that, he was a part of Kent's ministry, okay? And then he got to see what was really going on. So the video Kent's dad teaches him how to be a thief, that's this person. And admitting that Kent was, as a spoiled child, that he never got reprimanded. That's why he turned out the way he did. I got involved, meaning trying to reconcile the family, to help with reconciling the family. When I flew down to Pensacola for a day and the police showed up, I understood that things were worse than they had been portrayed to me, right? That's what Kent doesn't tell the truth, so he makes everything look like it's springtime. There was a deep mutual disrespect between Kent and Joe that Joe alleges began the first day of the marriage. According to Joe, the marriage operated until recently similar to the proverb that not only children but women should be seen and not heard as well. Joe has identified critical junctures in the marriage where she has been seen and not heard. Kent disagrees and offers a completely different picture when Joe was submissive. Countless efforts to get Kent to tone down his rants against the government and to stick with his specialty, creation science evangelism. They're pleading with him to do that, right? These events were a source of humiliation when she went to prison, and fear for Joe. There is no sin in that. According to Joe, the day before the joint arrest, she and Kent had seen a marriage counselor, and that counseling session did not end well. Okay? Now, here's what's shocking, and this is the truth. You can contact the family, and they'll tell you. Kent's daughter called up, at the direction of Kent, Mary Toko. And Mary Toko was going to visit Dinosaur Adventureland the day Kent and Joe went to prison. That's the truth. Let me backtrack this. So, Kent and Joe having their marriage is terrible. It's falling apart. They have a counseling session. It does not go well. The next day, Mary Toko was going to come down to Dinosaur Adventureland, and that's when Kent and Joe went to prison. Think about that, people. Think about that. Now, this next email is from Kent. It's his modus operandi. He is admitting what he does psychologically to people. And then his son pleading with his dad to stop. Please stop. Basically, stop doing what you're doing. Stop trying to commit crimes and make your family fall apart. Trying to break your family apart. This is from Kent. It is essential to psychologically prepare people before you do something bad so you can justify your actions. Why would he say that unless he knows what he's doing? Unless he does it himself. Do people normally say stuff like that? Trying to lay psychological groundwork to justify a non-biblical divorce, keeping the CDC assets, or evicting me from my own house. Please listen carefully to the rhetoric to see if I'm right. Eric uses I must play with the cards I was dealt rhetoric as part of this strategy to make it look like this problem fiction is all my fault for my poor decisions. He's telling the people the truth, but it's projecting. And he is the knight in shining armor that is saving mom from jail or dad from ruining the ministry. You know what I mean, people? It's just so And then he ends it, busy day. Got to go slay dragons right now. Here we go. This is Eric pleading with his dad to stop. I feel that you, this is him talking to Ernie right now. I feel that you, Ernie, have heard the lie from Kent so long. What does he say? What does Adolf Hitler say? Tell a lie long enough, often enough, that people will believe it. I'm telling you, Kent uses all of this stuff, man. He uses what works. I feel that you have heard Kent's lie so long that you're starting to believe it yourself. You believe that it was Kent's stuff when in reality it was a ministry. I have begged my dad to stop making the decisions he is making because they're forcing me to make decisions that I don't want to make. If someone could get my dad to live in the reality of what happened instead of in the fantasy world of what he wanted to happen, everyone would be better off. I spoke with my dad today and begged him to stop. He needs to know how to have a wife instead of a servant. He needs to stop pretending like he is a martyr and we're the prosecutor. He needs to start heeding God's word when it says, anyway, there's basically he needs to heed God's word when it says to love your wife as yourself, you know, those type of things. So let's move on to, and all these psychopaths, just like Adolf Hitler, and we're going to go through some of his quotes that Kent is literally living by. Kent has this grandiose idea of who he is. Okay? He has this grandiose idea of who he is, and he's making an effigy of himself that other people are surrounding and worshiping. Okay? All the meanwhile, in his own words, I'm going to play it, he is creating this rebellion against the government, anti-tax protesters. All under the guise of this effigy that he's creating that's a creation science evangelist. Okay? Now, this is true. You can call the family and ask them, and they will tell you this is true, 100%. When Kent was first creating this atmosphere, this stardom, let's just say, he was radicalizing people, and they were not paying their taxes, all whatever, okay? The government riled up a lot of people that followed Kent. A lot of people. And so Joe and Eric would get calls on a regular basis, women saying, darn your husband. My husband started to believe your husband Kent's stuff, and now he's in prison. And they would get calls like that often. Now, here's Kent Hovind. This is after, I don't want to be a dead horse here. Go look at the other videos. I explain what happened with Deborah, how we decided, my wife and I helped her. Because it was him, he was kicking her off the property, and we decided to help her. That's where this audio clip comes in. You can listen to, let's see here. If you want to listen to the whole thing, you can do so at, right here. That's the title.
So, now, don't take up the offenses of others. That you don't know the whole story behind Deborah. You know what she said, okay? You'd like to talk to her husband, right?
Oops, let me rewind that. Let's see here. Where was it? 9:45. Sorry about that. I missed my time, my cue.
But get involved in other people's, but I think it's Colossians. I couldn't find the verse quickly. About taking up the offenses of others. Here's what's going to happen. Prediction. Kent Hovind. No.
Right? It's always about prediction. He thinks he's a prophet. I'm telling you, people, he thinks he's a prophet. He thinks he's some type of... So, this is what he always does. Think about how narcissistic this is. Prediction. And psychologically, he's preparing people for getting rid of everybody. Because they all saw it happen. They all knew that what they did, how they were treating me was wrong. And I'm going to get a person who was there who did construction. He's going to come out and pretty much spill the beans and tell you that I'm telling you the truth. So he's preparing people, I'm going to get rid of all of you. Because they were all freaked out about this situation with Kent. And they knew what Kent was doing was wrong and that he was slandering us.
But get involved in other people's, but I think it's Colossians. I couldn't find the verse quickly. about taking up the offenses of others. Here's what's going to happen. Prediction, Kent Hovind, November 15th. What happened today will infect several of you, and you'll have this eating in the background. I don't think that was handled right. That wasn't the Christian thing to do. That wasn't the right thing to do, blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, it'll happen. And it'll start festering in you, like the slivers I've got festering in my fingers right now. It'll fester and hurt for a few weeks, and then the zit will have to be popped. So please, if you're not happy here, just go. Nobody has to stay, and nobody is a resident here, and we can tell anybody at any time, you're done, leave. If you hear anybody murmuring something, come straight to me. The buck stops right here. I can handle it. Lady Di, how long have you known me?
Since 204.
204. I don't know anybody who wants to serve God more than I do.
Let's go back and hear that. I believe there's nobody else in this world that wants to serve God like I do. That is creepy. Very narcissistic, people. Very narcissistic. Let's go back and listen to that.
The buck stops right here. I can handle it. Lady Di, how long have you known me?
Since 204.
204. I don't know anybody who wants to serve God more than I do. But when I know this is what God wants, this is what I'm going to do. And if the government doesn't like it, tough. And if my wife doesn't like it, tough. She will soon learn, wow, there's a difference between stubborn and firm. I'm open for discussion on things, but I'm not open for backbiting and gossiping behind my back. It's very simple. Your invitation.
Go look up. I can't remember what video it is, but it's the guy that painted Kent on the gate. There was a whole discussion of, man, this place is no longer about a ministry. This place is about Kent Hovind, and people were just having regular discussions and conversations. And Kent thought that was murmuring, right? Because he's the king, he's the general. You can't talk about him. All right.
Invitation is hereby revoked. What the law says. Steve, you were there. We got to.
Okay, he says, Steve, you were there. Here's the other thing. I'm going to have, again, you're going to all just wait. Steve is wanted for a felon in his home state, and they wanted to arrest him. And so he fled his state, and he's with Kent now. He has nowhere to go. He's stuck. Can't go back home. That is the truth. That's the truth. And you'll see that come out here real soon, the evidence of that coming out here real soon. So that's that clip. Now I want to play you audio of Kent when he was in prison back in, 2006. Here's audio clips. I want you to pay attention to how he treats his wife, how he looks at his wife, and how he is waging war against the government. All right? Now, let's see here.
Jurisdictional question. A very legitimate one.
Well, I'm sorry that I don't get it.
Okay.
Why she's saying that is that this whole sovereign citizen movement, anti-tax protesting, he's trying to beat his wife over the head of like, hey, look at it this way. They're the ones breaking the law, this, that, and the other. And she's like, well, here's what they said is happening. It doesn't make sense what you're saying here.
And I'm not ready to roll over. This is still America. They are the ones breaking the law, not me. So I'm not ready to roll over and give up. Sorry. You can. You can if you want.
Okay.
But I won't. So far, that's my understanding of Scripture. And whoever wrote the book, they're right. If your goal is to be crucified, that's correct. Don't say a thing.
Okay.
But I won't.
Did you hear that? Whoever wrote the book. Talking about the Bible. Whoever wrote the book, if they're right, then basically I'm okay being a martyr. He wants to be a martyr. I'm going to play this again. Listen very closely what he's saying. He is admitting how he views the Bible, if it is correct. Whoever wrote it, if it is correct.
So far, that's my understanding of Scripture. And whoever wrote the book, they're right. If your goal is to be crucified, that's correct. Don't say a thing. So that's not my goal. And if I am crucified, I want people to know why, and I want that my message to continue. I want people to say, wow, Hovind was right. Let's spread these tapes around, rather than,
Wow, Hovind was right. Let's spread these tapes around. Right? This is a quote from Adolf Hitler. My spirit will rise from the grave and the world will see I was right. Again, this grandiose effigy that these people create about these people build for themselves. And then they want other people to cow down and, oh, wow. Now, here's another quote from Adolf Hitler. If you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed. Let's go back to this audio, okay?
say, oh wow, Hovind's a thief, and
Right.
let's steal his tapes from our library away.
Right.
I'm trying to obey the law. If I'm breaking the law, please show me which law. Do you?
And that's evident. Go watch Kent Hovind, Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. It lays it all out right there. It lays it all out.
What the IRS and what somebody does with holding, though, is also a fact.
Oh, there's other ways to get along with them, but that is certainly one option.
He's talking about how to get along with the IRS. And Joe's saying, well, pay the taxes, pay the employee taxes, let's have a good accountant. And he's like, well, that's one way, or there's another way.
Well, I think you're very naive to even say that.
Well, it's kind of like the mafia saying, look, you're going to pay us $500 or your store's going to burn down. And somebody comes in and says, no, I'm sorry, I'm not paying you $500. And, if nobody ever stands up to the mafia, then they just continue.
Yeah.
And a lot of people's stores do get burned down and they get their arms broke and stuff like that, I know. But that doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah.
I mean, if George Washington and those guys at Valley Forge had not froze their butt off, and lost half their army and hadn't...
There you go. He believes himself to be this ultra-patriot fighting against, England. Only it's under this guise of, Christianity and tax protesting. Okay, here's... We'll end it on this. This will not end it, but the rest of this audio clip. If you go look, you can go listen to it yourself. Kent Hovind County Jail telephone calls.
They just say it's general knowledge, It is such a giant scam, and I'm thinking, what law did I break, I don't know how these people that do this live with themselves. IRS has been doing this for years, just wreaking havoc of families, just tearing people apart. The law means nothing to them, absolutely nothing. How did America get this way? I guess they are God's judgment on America, for our wickedness. But I feel sorry for these agents and stuff.
No third-party call.
Did you hear that? The IRS, poor me, what they did to me is just an example of God's wrath on the people that are wicked, the wickedness of America. Me, poor me. This is crazy now. I'm going to show you biblically that taxes have always been around. Taxes are a good thing if it's used right, and it's something that has just been around for a long time. Okay? So here we go. Let's when I say a good thing, think about Social Security, right? Think about all the old people that the government is taking care of. They paid their taxes. The government is giving them a check so that they can have a decent lifestyle. They can live a decent lifestyle. Think about that. That's what I'm saying. Taxes can be used for a very good thing. So we're going to get right into... Actually, we're going to end this in the Bible. I'm going to prove to you that taxes have always been around and that it's something that... Oh, let's see here. Ezra. So, in Ezra chapter 4, the king of, King of Cyrus. King Cyrus, of Persia. He says, hey, listen, Israelites, you can go back home and build your city, Jerusalem. And they're like, oh, thank you. Okay, so the king lets them do that, and then there's these wicked people in the background that hate the Israelites, just hate them. And so they come up with history that the Jews do not pay their taxes to kings that rule over them. And that is true. If you go look at the Old Testament, Hezekiah, for instance, does not pay tribute to Persia. He's not paying, a lot of kings don't pay tribute or taxes to the kings that are actually ruling over them at the time. And the prophets would go in and say, hey, listen, you need to pay your taxes. You need to pay tribute. It's a godly thing, okay? These people rule over you. And they were adamant that they wouldn't. So what these men are doing is wicked, but they're also telling the truth, and that these people will, if they build their city, King Cyrus, they will not pay taxes. And so that's where we're at right here. But Zerubbabel and Jeshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, ye have nothing to do with us. Talking about leave us alone as we build this house for God. But it known, this is the letter that these people have sent to the king. But it be known unto the king that if this city be builded and the wall set up again, then they will not pay toll, tribute, and custom. And so thou shalt, basically you're not going to get any revenue. It's going to damage you. Now, because we have maintenance from the king's palace, and it was not meet for us to see the king's dishonor, meaning we don't want to see the king being dishonored, therefore we have sent and certified the king, that search may be made in the book of the records of thy fathers, talking about how these people will not pay your taxes. We certify the king that if this city be builded again and the walls thereof set up, by this means thou shalt have no portion on this side of the river, meaning they will not pay your taxes on this side of the river. And then you can go read the rest of the chapter. And so the king says, oh, that's not good. Stop. You can't build the city anymore. And then the Israelites are like, listen, we're going to pay the taxes. Let us build the city. And so it gets ramped up again. So that's one instance in the Bible. Okay. Judges 1:28. And it came to pass when Israel was strong that they put the Canaanites to tribute. Even the Israelites asked for the Canaanites for the tax and did not utterly drive them out. Meaning, hey, listen, we rule the land. You're going to be paying taxes to us, Israelites. Okay? And guess what the Canaanites did? And they weren't driven out of the land. Romans 13:1. This is important with government, okay? The government is literally in place to stop anarchy. God, first of all, people did not want God as their king, so that's why they made King Saul, and then there's King David, etc., etc. And now Jesus Christ gives us the ultimate freedom that, listen, we are under this government, but Christ is our king. He is who we look forward to, God himself. And we obey the laws. And that's where Romans 13 comes in. Okay. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but God, the powers that be ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power and resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves a damnation. That's what's happening with Kent. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Throughout the whole entire history of the world, there's always been godly men that have served kings. And the kings will seek out what those godly men, their advice. They'll seek out their advice. Okay? Now, do we say, hey, government's doing abortion, that's okay? No, it's not. Speak out against the government for allowing that, right? I mean, this is elementary stuff. Luke 23:2. And they began to accuse. Now, the scribes and the Pharisees, during the time where they crucified Christ, those were the same type of Jews and Israelites, I should say, because there's no Jew or Gentile, we're Israelites. So back in the day, like Hezekiah and all these merchants, the rich men, okay, and they would not pay tribute to the king. And so it's no different. These scribes and Pharisees are getting ready to kill Christ, and these lawmakers, they are projecting, kind of like what Kent does. He projects onto other people. Okay? They're projecting that Christ is telling people not to pay your taxes. And Christ is not. He didn't teach that at all. So they're trying to set him up through projection, through lying. Luke 23:2. And they began to accuse him, saying, we found this fellow perverting the nation and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is Christ a king. Luke 20:22. Just Luke 20:19. And the chief priests and the scribes the same hour sought to lay hands on Christ, and they feared the people, for they perceived that he had spoken this parable against them. And they watched him and sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just men, that they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor. And they asked him, saying, Master, we know that thou sayest and teachest rightly, neither acceptest thou the person of any, but teachest the way of God truly. Is it lawful for us to give tribute, tax unto Caesar? No. But he perceived their craftiness. Christ said unto them, why tempt ye me? Show me a penny. Whose image and subscription hath it? They answered and said, Caesar's. And he said unto them, render therefore unto Caesar's the things which be Caesar's, and unto God the things which be God's. Meaning that the money you've got, it says US dollar debt bill, right? It's a dollar, okay, whatever. That is the government's. That dollar you have in your wallet, yeah, it's yours to build up wealth and whatnot. But what's inscribed on that dollar? What's printed on that dollar? It's the U.S. government's property. So paying your taxes, you pay your taxes. It's the government's property in and of itself. All right? So now people can talk about the bank and the banking system and the Federal Reserve, how it's a private corporation, and how the government is really us, and so that we should have our bank back and not have a private corporation over it. That's a whole nother discussion. But that's what Christ is getting at. All right, and render the things unto God which are God's. Our sacrifices to God are spiritual sacrifices. Okay, spiritual sacrifices has nothing to do with money. That's why I'm trying to tell you when Ken says, "Give me more money, give me more silver. We're going to build this. It's all going to rot. Might as well invest it into my pole barns." Okay, that has nothing to do with the Bible. Our spiritual sacrifices are those things which are of good works unto God. Now, here's where Christ even pays tribute. He pays the taxes. And when him and the disciples came to Capernaum, they received tribute money. And Peter said, doth not your master pay tribute? He saith, yes. And when he was come into the house, Jesus prevented him, saying, what thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children, or of strangers? Peter said unto him, of strangers. Jesus said unto him, then are the children free. Meaning, you're my child, you're free. You're free of paying taxes. If you're a child of God, you're free of paying taxes. You don't have to pay taxes to God. You don't have to pay taxes to God, you're free. Notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, talk about the government, go thou to the sea and cast an hook and take up the fish that first cometh up. And when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money. That take and give unto them for me and thee. So Christ said, pay your taxes so you don't offend them. Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. John 8:32, ye shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free.